Anthony Davis versus Heather Herrick.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then I also have Heather Herrick versus Anthony Davis on a counterclaim 2403026R.
All right, just a little pre-party here, courtesy of Zach at Law Nerds Unite. Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Mr. Ivanchik?
Yeah, yes. Good morning, Your Honor. John Ivanchik on behalf of the defendant / counter plaintiff, Heather Herrick.
All right. Mr. Davis,
Yes, sir.
your name?
Anthony Davis.
All right. He filed a motion for summary disposition. Did you ever file a response to this, sir?
Did I file a response? No,
Yes.
I didn't file any
Well,
papers.
And if I may, Your Honor, the motion is for summary disposition on plaintiff's claim as well as entry of default judgment on defendant's counterclaim.
Why don't you go ahead? You have to file responses, Mr. Davis.
I have to file answers to.
He filed a
what, Your
motion
Honor?
for summary disposition that he sent to you.
Yeah, you got to do something or you lose here, my friend.
I didn't file a motion for a deposition.
Yeah, we know.
He did.
He did.
He did. Yeah, you needed to
Okay.
file a response to his motion, right?
Well, okay. What am I supposed to? What was I supposed to file? A response stating.
Okay, so here's part of the problem. I don't mean to be a wise guy here.
Okay.
You're in over your head. You're filing lawsuits. You don't know what you're doing. Just let me just respond here, and then
Shh. Stop thinking. I'm trying to tell you something now.
you can do whatever you want. You filed a lawsuit against the defendant, right?
No, I did not. I filed a small claims.
Okay, but that's still a lawsuit. That's still a lawsuit.
Oh, this is
It's
I
still a
painful.
thought that was
lawsuit.
just trying to get.
This is so painful. No, I didn't. I filed a small claims. Well, that's a lawsuit. It's in small claims. That's what he means. That's what it means. Yeah. Just assume that the judge understands the words he's using. Okay, because he does.
I was trying to get the pay that she owed me.
Okay, but that's a lawsuit. That's a lawsuit. You filed a lawsuit when you filed a small claims action. She retained a lawyer and she filed a counterclaim against you.
Yeah, and I don't
And-
know why she would have any grounds to do that.
Well, I can tell you, they're saying you're not a licensed residential builder.
Well, I don't have
That's
to.
what they're saying. Okay, well, I'm only telling you that he's a lawyer and you need one. Okay?
I need a lawyer.
I mean, you can handle this yourself, but you didn't file a response. You can't just file lawsuits and then just sit on your hands while they're filing paperwork and not respond.
In all due respect, sir, I didn't know it was a lawsuit. A small claims, I thought that was just to get the pay that she owed me.
He filed a case to remove the action from the small claims division of the court to the general civil division. I was on the case in the small claims division. I'm on the case now in a general civil case. That's just the way it works. I'm still assigned the case. You filed a lawsuit. That was the affidavit and claim. He's now filed a response and counterclaim. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're
Yeah,
saying, and it's getting kind of serious now. Not only does he want me to throw out your claim, he's saying that they've incurred $14,825 in damages.
That's not possible.
So, All right, well, listen, I'm only telling you, these guys went to law school. These ladies went to law school. They spent 3 years studying, took the bar exam, and spend the rest of their lives trying to learn it. Okay?
Yeah, I understand.
I'm
I
just telling you. You don't know anything about this. You need to get a lawyer. I'll give you an adjournment if you want one, unless you want to go into a breakout room with Mr. Ivanchek
No,
now.
I can obtain a lawyer. I can. I have maybe Bob Paul
Okay, good. Now would be the time.
check. I did some work on
I don't
his
need
house.
to talk about what lawyer you're going to handle,
Okay.
or anything like that. That's your decision. I'm only telling you right now it's getting serious. Not only that you might lose your claim, but lose on the counterclaim and end up paying them money because they think you're not a licensed builder. Now, I don't need to talk about all this. You can go talk to a lawyer. I can give you an adjournment of this motion, but I
Please.
got to move the case along. Do you understand?
Yeah, I can get a lawyer today. I'm pretty sure.
Counsel, pardon me?
I said I'm pretty sure I can get a lawyer today, sir.
Well, I don't care if you
I'm pretty sure it fills me with confidence.
get one today, tomorrow, or whatever. I'm going to
Okay.
adjourn the motion.
If I may, Your Honor, the court set this for a bench trial for the 21st, and I have a hearing on the 14th that isn't in person up in 35th. So did the court want to just adjourn it to the bench trial day and move the bench trial?
Oh, yeah. What day do I have it set for?
21st
Of April.
of April. Yeah, sorry. I might be a little bit late because I do have a hearing on the same day.
I'm going to adjourn the motion for summary disposition. Give me a date in May, Lisa or Linda, the first or second week. So
Okay.
everybody doesn't think I'm crazy. My criminal clerk, who's usually on here, is named Lisa.
Yeah.
So
May 6th at 9 o'clock,
Mace, what day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
I do have another Zoom hearing in 14A on that morning, Your Honor, but I can do, that one should be relatively simple.
We can do 9:30 if that's better for you.
That would work better. It is Judge Barr,
9?
not always on
9?
time, so
Ooh. I'm
sorry.
sure Judge Barr wouldn't appreciate you saying that on
Yeah,
YouTube. Mr. Davis,
made it
I'm
past the filter.
adjourning
Yes, sir.
the motion for summary disposition until May 6th. Lisa
May 6th.
or Linda, give me a trial date 3 weeks after that. Trial, in the event I don't grant the motion, will be on,
Hang on. How about June 3rd at 10 o'clock?
My birthday.
well,
happy
I hope
birthday
it's
to
a happy
you.
birthday for you. June
I
3rd.
hope so.
May 6th at 9:30. You have to be here. Your lawyer needs to file a response. You better get a lawyer today or tomorrow so they can file a response. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, the notice of hearings that went out from the court had Judge Hessen's Zoom ID on them for some reason. We're not sure why.
Sorry
They
about
did?
that.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I had it right on my notice, but the one we got from the court had the wrong one. So I'm not sure if that's why.
That's
ours
all right.
is not showing up.
May 6th at 9:30.
Okay.
Trial, June 3rd at 10. Okay?
At
Thank
10.
you. Make sure
Thank
that
you,
they,
sir.
I'm gonna need you to hold this and get that in there. Thank you. You're all set. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, well, that was kind of fun. That's what I had for a warm up. But let's go watch people walk in front of the courthouse. It's very exciting. I'm talking with Mike. Your source for people walking in front of courthouses.
Has the trial already started for today?
Not until 10:30, I don't think.
Oh,
I hear some birds. Well, that's one way to, shorten the trial.
Porque she didn't want to say the 4 years. She didn't want to say it. She just said it at the end. She felt the pressure.
Seriously? Well, I guess we do have time for that Division of Law and Equity lecture that I've been wanting to give. Brace yourselves. It's going to be awesome. And that'll lead right into my lecture on the rule against perpetuities.
case entitled In the Matter of Brandon Ray Doherty and Cassie Lee Hall. It's case number 2020 DM 354. Cassie Hall appears, apparently representing herself at this juncture. Would counsel announce appearance on the respondent side?
This is also from Zach. I haven't seen it, but you know, it could be good.
Your Honor, may it please the court, Desiree Smith appears on behalf of the respondent, Brandon Daughtry, who also appears in person. I also have his current girlfriend with me.
What was labeled as an emergency motion in this case. Emergency temporary custody motion due to child safety concerns filed by Ms. Hall. Apparently service was obtained, or notice at least was actually received by Brandon in this case. This matter comes before the court at this time. No orders have issued to this point other than the order for the Zoom hearing. But while I have a threshold question that I need answered, there in the pleadings, there was identified a pending Sedgwick County PFA case, Ms. Hall?
Correct.
All right. Weren't if there needed to be emergency orders regarding custody or any other matter concerning you and Brandon in this case, why weren't they addressed there?
Well, it's actually a PFA against Brandon in regards to his fiance's children that are in the house also when Easton is present. The father and stepmother of the fiance's children filed the PFA due to what the children are stating is happening at the house, to which also Easton is telling me the same stories.
Okay, so you weren't the petitioner in that
No.
case.
No, I was just informed that they had done that, and then it also is going along with what Easton has been telling me as well.
All right, what relief are you seeking today, Cassie?
Right now, I would just like temporarily full custody of Easton until the PFA, which I believe is on Thursday. And I would also like, we have, from what I'm understanding, there was going to be another hearing on the 24th, which was going to discuss further custody of Easton in the future.
Your internet,
and we were going to go over the fact that Brandon is not using his 50-50, I'm taking care of Easton more than 50-50.
All right. And
So
what hearing is on the 24th? I'm sorry?
You're supposed to have one on the 25th, but it sounds like it got moved to today because of the temporary the motion for hearing today.
All right. I'm going to address my assistant. Are you aware that we have another hearing set on the calendar?
Well, when I filed
Just a moment. I'm addressing my administrative assistant.
Okay, sorry.
Judge, I did give her a date further out, but then I realized that there was an emergency temporary order or a temporary motion. I'm sorry.
All right.
So I do have it set, but I didn't know if we were going to keep that or not.
Okay, I guess we'll determine that today. And that is what date and time?
Let me look real fast.
We'll make sure that I have that, state that accurately.
April 25th at 9 a.m.
Is that a 1 hour setting?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Thank you for that information, Mandy. All right. So you're seeking sole legal custody essentially and sole physical possession of the child between now and the next hearing. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Smith, your position regarding this temporary request?
Your Honor, my client is objecting to the temporary request. The PFA in Sedgwick County was granted on ex parte orders without any input or hearing from my client, and so that has not been litigated yet. But furthermore, I think it's important to understand that the allegations in the PFA are that my client has spanked the fiance's minor children. The only issue that even went to a PFA and got signed is because those children are not biologically related to him. And so there is a legal question as to whether or not he has the authority to parent those children. That's the only reason that I believe ex parte temporary orders were even signed. is because the allegation is about spanking minor children whom he lives with, whom he parents, but is not a legal parent to. The difference here is that the child that Ms. Hall has filed about is my client's legal child. He is a parent to that child. And so even if everything in the PFA case is true, which my client denies that it is, he denies that he's ever spanked her children. But even if we take that PFA as 100% true, that he has spanked Easton in this case, he's Easton's biological and legal father. He is allowed to parent Easton, and Ms. Hall has not provided anything that would indicate that that parenting has gone above and beyond parenting that is allowed in Kansas. For example, we do not have any photos of bruises on this minor child. We do not have any police reports. We do not have any DCF reports. We have nothing indicating that he has gone above and beyond simply parenting his own child, and therefore ask that the emergency order be denied.
Your Honor, if I can interject, there actually is a current DCF case going on right now. There also were past DCF where not only I have contacted, but others have contacted DCF in regards to concerns for Easton's safety. I do have documentation. I have a whole Google Drive full of documentation if needed to prove everything else. It doesn't just go with spanking. On the PFA, it also talks about that he was hitting, spanking, and yelling. Plus, I have other documentations and what my son has said, plus what the other two children have stated have happened in regards to how he handles situations when they're getting in trouble. I have all the documentation right here that I can address if you would like.
Has DCF issued a final report and findings in the case?
Right now, she's waiting to speak to Brandon. She knows of our case hearing today. She knows of the PFA hearing on Thursday. So she just spoke to me yesterday stating that she was going to talk to Brandon later this week, possibly after both hearings.
All right, I'll address the mother again and ask, you state in your motion that you've tried to get emotional support set in place for Easton, such as play therapy, but somehow the petitioners thwarted that?
In our
If he
parenting,
needs therapy, why don't you just put him in?
well, in our parenting plan, we stated that we have to address both of those together and state whether or not we both agree to that. And I have proper documentation on our Family Wizard app that shows that he did not want to proceed with any of that. So I was unable to put him in that therapy. And that is why DCF also has been contacted due to a lot of the emotional damage that Easton has been encountering the past couple of months.
Your Honor, my client does not object to therapy and actually looked back through the Our Family Wizard messages to find where she was referring to in her motion and could not find a time he objected to therapy. So if that's the court's concern today, he has no objection to the minor child being enrolled in play or other therapy, whatever is age appropriate.
Where are you proposing that this therapy take place, Cassie?
I've actually been speaking to a place over in El Dorado, and
A place
they are
in El
actually would
Dorado?
like to.
I was
Yes, they
wanting
would
more
like to.
specifics than that.
Yes, I have it, Your Honor.
Okay.
Let me just.
You know, that's
stop
not
that
what I
real
meant.
quick. Because they just spoke to me yesterday and wanted also me to
wasn't
kind of
gonna
step
say
in
anything.
and have a conversation as well.
Oh, good Lord.
It is called the Sunlight Child Advocacy Center.
And they have an actual therapy program that you believe would be beneficial to your son?
Yes, Your Honor. It's an advocacy center for families. They actually are someone that also reported DCF based off documentation and the things that I had stated. They also made a DCF report, hence why the DCF contacted me on Friday, this last Friday.
All right. You have court-ordered authority to enter him into that program, Ms. Hall?
Well, that's what I would like to seek, that due to all of this emotional damage and the fact that he is somewhat getting physically abused, plus with the other children, all the things that he witnesses and sees while in custody of his father.
Run, my man. Just run. Just run. Don't walk. Run to the nearest exit.
I would like for that to be addressed, that we do start him in that therapy, because we are seeing a lot of emotional damage with Easton right now. And
All right, well,
even the
you have court-ordered authority to enter him into that program.
Perfect. Thank you.
This is all your fault, Zach. You know it.
And as I understand it, what you're seeking in addition today is an order just essentially just cutting off the father from having contact with his son?
Well, I would like for things to happen before he is able to see him again. In the motion that I also have in there is that, I mean, yes, I would like full custody of our son. I mean, I've had him majority of the time. I have proof that I have him more than 50% each month and 50% of every year that I have since we have divorced. He has been doing very well. I have a lot of documentation showing that he does not do well after coming back from his father, the things that he tells me and states that is happening at his father's house. I would essentially like full custody with visit.
Oh, please. He's doing awesome, except when he comes back from his dad's, and then his life spins out of control. I mean, does anybody believe this? Anybody?
Visitation rights if agreed upon the petitioner. I also have put into the motion exactly where those visitation rights could take place, and based off what the petitioner could do, it could happen during the week or on the weekends. I'm also stating in here that I would like for parenting classes to be conducted with the petitioner, as well as if the PFA goes through, I would like for anger management classes to be conducted.
By the way, I mean, I don't mean to get serious, but this is just part and parcel of everything that I'm always saying. Like, why would a guy get involved? This is what you have. This is the norm. This isn't this is typical. This is what 90% of your average Joes are dealing with when they get married, right here. This is it. You would be insane to engage in this.
Before he's able to see Easton again.
Your Honor, in her motion, she did not state that the minor child had said anything. All of these allegations about the minor child's emotional state and the minor child saying all these things are brand new as of 3 minutes ago. In her motion, the only thing she references are the allegations made by the other children and the other PFA. She doesn't make any of these allegations that the minor child has stated any of these things. In fact, my client just had parenting time with the minor child just prior to this hearing.
And I would like to address that, Your Honor, because
Okay. All right, just a moment, Ms. Hall. I'm not sure Ms. Smith completed her statement to the court, so
No,
let's
Your Honor.
not interrupt her.
Okay.
My client just had parenting time with the minor child where the minor child was happy, healthy. There's videos of the two of them just doing activities together that my client has that I could show the court today if the court would like to see. But there is nothing to indicate that this minor child was in any way harmed or fearful of his father during this time. And she let him come to parenting time just last week and now is asking that the court cut off all contact and make that parenting time supervised over a PFA that's been filed in a different county with different children that my client hasn't even had a chance to respond to. And again, the only allegations that we're getting here is that maybe he parents his child in a way different than she does, in a way that's allowed by Kansas law. Again, she's referenced lots of documentation that she supposedly has and she shared with everybody else other than the court today. We haven't seen any of it, or myself. And so my client has a due process right to see those allegations and see that documentation before his parenting time is taken.
And Your Honor, I do agree with that, and I am very capable. Like I have it all ready to go. Due to the fact that I wasn't able to retain an attorney by today, I do have one that is probably going to be able to step into this for the next hearing. I have it all ready to. But I would like to say that my son has stated that he stayed at a house over the weekend that had no furniture, no refrigerator, no bed, nothing, and they had to stay on an air mattress all weekend. My son also stated that that the petitioner asked him to say things while he was being recorded so that it could be presented in court, basically. My son also stated that he, in the past, has been fearful of his father. I have a lot of just basically, he's concerned, he's scared to go there. He's afraid of the monsters that supposedly he hears.
First of all, I don't know if it's true, but what's wrong with an air mattress? Like that's some horrible event? I'll tell you what's a lot more important than whether you're on a regular couch or bed or an air mattress is having some time with your father and learning some boundaries.
I've been told of things that are happening in regards to making children in the garage turn on the lights, closing the doors, playing scary music, to which my son is now scared about how beds are being moved,
Absolutely.
dolls are getting moved around to make him scared. His dad does spank him a lot of the time. He said that most of the that it's basically just due to the fact that he doesn't want to take a shower. His dad will spank him and he's crying. They get put in the corner and have to hold things that are really heavy when the children are only 8, 5, and I think the youngest one's maybe 4, I believe. There's a lot of other things that are going on that I can continue if you'd like.
Yeah, that's great. Let's do it your way and have corrections officers teach him discipline when he's about 18, 19 years old.
What type of parenting time is your client currently exercising, Ms. Smith?
Your Honor, he has him every other weekend from Friday to Sunday night right now. Friday night, like after schoolish to Sunday nights.
Okay, and he just had his weekend.
Yes, so this upcoming weekend would be mom's, and then next weekend would be my client's.
And when he is there for those weekends, are there other children in the house at the same time?
Typically, there are. For this weekend, we had a little bit of a different situation because of the PFA that's pending in Sedgwick County. But generally speaking, he resides with his fiancee, Rachel. They live in the house together. Rachel has 2 children, and then his child also comes on the weekends. And so generally, the 5 of them reside as a family unit on the weekends because the PFA has disrupted his ability to be at that house. He's had to find some other housing situations in some hotels and things while her kids are there because of the pending PFA. This past weekend is the only weekend that's been a problem because of when the PFA was filed. So it's only been 1 weekend that this child has not been with the other children.
And what would the physical environment be for the next weekend? Should this court grant weekend visitation for him?
Your Honor, we have the PFA on Thursday, and my client's goal is to have that dismissed. And so my client's hope is that assuming that that is dismissed like you would want on Thursday, they would go back to regularly scheduled parenting time at the house that him and his fiance share with the other children. And so that's the goal. If not, he'll have to make other arrangements with a friend or a family member for parenting time. But our goal is to have it dismissed on Thursday.
You've actually reviewed the pleadings in that Sedgwick County case? Ms.
Yes,
Smith?
Your Honor. I represent my client in that case as well.
All right, and the allegations are he improperly spanked children that are not his.
That he spanked children that he's not the legal parent of, and there's one sentence that says he may have grabbed one of their arms at one point, which my client believes might have been when they were running into traffic or something. He grabbed an arm and pulled them back.
Not in traffic, they're impeding people coming the opposite way.
So those are the 2 allegations, that he spanked the children and that at one point he grabbed a child's arm to kind of move them out of the way of other people. And if the court is interested, obviously our argument both today and there is that none of those things rise to the level stated in Peta v. Leach, that discipline of inappropriate discipline of children. The only issue in the PFA is whether or not he had the authority to do that to children that he is a step parent to instead of a legal parent to.
Well,
Your Honor.
Okay, so it's not actually his biological son. Cut your losses and run. Just let it go. I know that sucks. It's easier said than done, but that's the way it's got to be here. You have no rights. None. None whatsoever. No rights, all liabilities. You got to go.
Sedgwick
If I
County
may,
Court.
I'd like to also
sort that
say
issue
that
out.
I was already going to plan a motion in regards to
That what?
Oh, sorry. I think we're cutting out a little bit. So
You are.
Sorry, I would just like to know also that I was already planning to file a motion in regards to the custody between Easton and his father. This just happened to pop up also while I was trying to file for the motion that's supposed to be on the 25th. Brandon has a lot of domestic violence in his past. He has several domestic violent cases plus several PFAs. I have at least three of the domestic violence and the PFA numbers. The rest of them, they're actually concealed right now, so I'm not able to do that. An attorney or a judge would have to see those. But those are what I'm raising concern as well, that this has happened in the past. So the fact that someone has formally,
okay.
just filed
Thank
a
you.
PFA raises more concern for me. And that's
Sorry,
why I
I missed
asked
that.
for emergency hearing before our 25th hearing, because I don't know how Easton's going to be with his father. I just want what's best for Easton.
Your Honor, those cases were already in existence at the time that these parties agreed to the current parenting plan, and therefore we don't need to relitigate the existence of any previous PFAs. We were at an evidentiary hearing. My client would testify that most of those have been dismissed in similar situations where they've been filed against him, but have ultimately been dismissed. But regardless of whether or not they were or were not dismissed, all of those have happened prior to the last agreement for him to have what I believe is on paper shared time. So he's not exercising shared time right now because the parties have switched to a new de facto schedule. But all of those were already in existence, and she was already aware of those when she agreed to the current parenting plan.
All right. The issue before the court today is, are there such circumstances before the court which warrants what is really an extraordinary order, and that is an order which completely cuts off a parent from their child? And the court is going to rule today that there is not. While there is some grounds here for concern, extraordinary relief, such as a temporary order completely cutting off a father from his son, is not warranted here. Mr. Doherty, it appears that your parenting time is essentially every other weekend from Friday to Sunday, as I understand it. There is no reason that parenting time should not continue between now and the time that the court next reviews this case. Apparently, April 25th at 9 o'clock is already on the calendar. By then, there will at least be a known outcome of this protection case. It has some, though not controlling, bearing on what's done in this case. The court would be interested in whatever findings were made and whatever final orders were issued in that case, but the court's not going to be governed by it in and of itself. But I think we'll be in a better position to review then current circumstances on April the 25th at 9 o'clock, when the court will once again review this. And I trust, Mandy, that this was set to be a Zoom hearing as well?
Yes, Judge.
Okay. We'll review the matter April 25 at 9. Until then, I will limit, quite frankly, I'm going to limit the father's actual parenting time with the son to his every other weekend, which is apparently the current schedule that's being followed. It doesn't keep father from contacting his son if there's some sort of other communication which regularly goes on, a phone call or I don't know, other communications that might happen. But as far as actual visitation time, I'm going to limit it to the every other weekend, which will have at least one other weekend, I think, come up between now and the time of the April 25th review. Ms. Smith, I'm going to go ahead and direct you to draft an order stemming from today, addressing the matters which the court has ruled upon this morning, including the court's enabling of the therapy at the Sunlight CAC. Ms. Smith, is there anything else that we need to address from your perspective at this time?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Obviously, the court wants the parents to work together for the best interest of their son. I hope that there's still some means of communication between father and mother that can take place to try to work out things that make sense for this boy, who I think turned 6 this year. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Well, he's one factor in the court's decision today is he's old enough to report what's going on. He's not a helpless child who isn't able to communicate. I just trust that both parents are making the best possible environment for him. But with that said, he also needs to be appropriately, mind you, disciplined. You can't just let him run wild. And so there is a place for appropriate parental discipline and rules to be followed. And I don't see any reason that if he's requested to take a shower, he needs to take a shower. So I suppose there's an appropriate way to get him into the shower and an inappropriate way, but thus far, I don't see that there is a need here for the court to intervene in this situation for any type of emergency relief that was sought in the motion. So again, I just hope that parents can work together for the best interest of this child.
Your Honor, and can I also state that I have, for the past year and a half, been stating to go to mediation every time something does arise, or he has concerns with something else not really involving Easton, and he not once has offered or agreed to go. So I have documentation of that as well on the Our Family Wizard app. I've been trying for quite a while to go back to mediation to discuss things, and he has asked not to, or just won't answer me.
Do you use alternative dispute resolution before in the resolution of your issues prior to now?
Yes, we use Joy Marlin over in Wichita. And so that is who we would continue to use if she's available.
Ms. Smith, if you'll discuss that with your client here in discourse.
I will, Your Honor.
Also have referenced in.
Thank God. Ricky just did a good job. He just saw right through this and came in a very reasonable way. That doesn't always happen, but he absolutely saw what was going on here and handled it well.
You're
breaking up. Now she's frozen.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. You were just breaking up. I didn't hear anything you just said. So
maybe she should sing Let It Go.
In regards to mediation.
Well, yeah, whatever your last statement was.
Oh, so I also found someone in Andover that could possibly be a mediator as well if Joy is not available.
All right. Appreciate that information. I'm sure Ms. Smith does as well.
Yeah, that's great. Go step on a rake.
All right. Again, we're set to review status of matters April 25, 9:00 a.m. by Zoom. And the court will be in recess in this particular matter at this time until that date.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Your Honor.
At this time, the case is in recess and the meeting may be ended for all.
Thank you.
Well, fantastic. Thanks again, Zach. Law Nerds Unite. He's hooking me up. I started this. I thought that the case would start. But no worries. No worries. We still get some quality time outside the courthouse steps. Let's do it.
Trial. This is crazy. Ma'am, are you a whore? You're not a whore? Not a whore? You're not a whore? I never want to hear it again. Sweet Jesus. You're not a whore? Not a whore? You're not a whore? I never want to hear it again. It gets worse.
There were drugs involved that were given to me that ended up being glue. Like I smoked some glue and stuff. I thought I was smoking crack.
Let's go. You didn't say the cat jumped on his wiener, did you? Sit down and shut up. Shut up. Shut up. Cat jumped on his wiener. Cat jumped on his wiener. Shut up. Cat jumped on his wiener. Cat jumped on his wiener. Shut up. Cat jumped on his wiener. Cat jumped on his wiener. Shut up. Cat jumped on his wiener. Cat jumped on his wiener. Shut up.
Mindy, you are naughty. You've seen it. We all know it.
Okay, that good go. Sharks, Mr. Sharks, Mr. Sharks.
Everybody fucking dance.
You're not a whore? You're not a whore?
I never want to hear it again.
You're not a whore? You're not a whore?
I never want to hear it again.
Now, if anybody thinks this is okay, I am in the wrong.
On the highway claiming free. No power over me, says my plea. I'm a sovereign in denial. Gonna be here for a while. Cause this life send takes a seat. My arguments are obsolete. Just a fool in legal night. Trying hard to win the fight. I'm just a sovereign idiot. My defense will fail spectacularly. To be guilty, it's not my style. Arguing laws that ain't worthwhile. I object to every word. No sense in what you've heard. Legal logic hit the ground. Round and round, lost and found. I'm just a sovereign idiot. My defense will fail spectacularly. To be guilty, it's not my style. Arguing laws that ain't worthwhile. I object to every word. No sense in what you've heard. Legal logic hit the ground. Round and round, lost and found. I'm just a sovereign idiot. My defense will fail spectacularly. To be guilty, it's not my style. Arguing laws that ain't worthwhile. In the courtroom standing proud. In a fog but being loud. Pointless battles in my head. Stuck in rules I don't understand. In the courtroom standing proud. In a fog but being loud. Pointless battles in my head. Stuck in rules I don't understand. In the courtroom standing proud. In a fog but being loud. Pointless battles in my head. Stuck in rules I don't understand.
Attention, esteemed viewers. If you are hearing this message, it means that you are sadly witnessing a dark moment in the history of legal discourse. Yes, it's true. Law Talk with Mike is experiencing what we in the business call a plot hole-sized lull. This is, of course, due entirely to Mike's, let's say, ambitious approach to preparation. And by ambitious, I mean utterly devoid. Yes, the very fabric of our legal system, as represented by this live stream, has encountered a, shall we say, temporal anomaly. A glitch, a hiccup, a veritable vacuum of action. And who is to blame? Why none other than our esteemed yet woefully unprepared host, Mike. So sit back, relax, maybe grab a snack. This musical interlude is just gonna be a thing. We'll get back to the legal stuff eventually, probably. So to fill the gaping void where insightful legal analysis should be due to a lack of any ability to keep your attention, Mike has in his infinite wisdom decided to subject you to this artistic expression. God help us all, please do not hold Mike accountable for this. Bless his heart, Mike didn't quite foresee these moments of dead air when he planned for this whole thing. He clearly has no idea what he's doing, so sit back, relax, and maybe grab a snack. This musical interlude is just gonna be a thing. We'll get back to the legal stuff eventually, probably.
Judge Simpson will tell you that being a no, we just have one question, are you a hoe? Mrs. Short, oh Mrs. Short, so where did you go? We have questions like on the weekends, do you work selling burritos? The law talk with my crew, we're here to laugh at you. We see you in court acting all tough. You solve issues and life must be so rough. Without getting into further details, there were drugs involved. I thought I was smoking crack, but it was just glue that dissolved. Oh man, I gotta get it together because wow, that was messed up. And your honor, I have IBS and I'm bleeding inside and it's really been rough. The law talk with my crew, we're here to laugh at you. We see you in court acting all tough. You solve issues and life must be so rough. And now Kinky Kelly is shacked up in bed with the fruit bowl. Then the cat jumped on his wiener and started causing trouble. Love exciting and new, we are and always will be. The law talk with my crew. The law talk with my crew. We see you in court acting all tough. You solve issues and life must be so rough. Without getting into further details, there were drugs involved. I thought I was smoking crack, but it was just glue that dissolved. Oh man, I gotta get it together because wow, that was messed up. And your honor, I have IBS and I'm bleeding inside and it's really been rough. The law talk with my crew, here to laugh at you. We see you in court acting all tough. Judge Simpson will tell you that being a no, we just have one question.
There is no scandal at Law Talk Nation. You can only pay to get a notification. If you're lucky, it's a spicy fornication. It's another day on Law Talk with Mike. We got pre-trial on the dial. Planning always make your chap smile. The pros say can't ever share a file. Defendants are always in denial. He was not driving, he's traveling. His reasons and facts are unraveling. It's another day of Law Talk with Mike. Courtroom is always popping off. You have a failure appear and you scoff. Judge Simpson is never going soft. Webster is always showing heart. We are heading into that soft six summer. Did you miss the line? That's a bummer. The soft six never gets smarter than dumber. He's not the man, he doesn't need a number. He was not driving, he's traveling. His reasons and facts are unraveling. It's another day of Law Talk with Mike. Courtroom is always popping.
Are you suggesting we can't handle that?
Failure to appear and you scoff.
Because if you're right.
Simpson is never going soft. Webster is always showing hard. We are heading into. There is no scandal at Law Talk Nation. You can only pay, get a notification. If you're lucky, it's a spicy fornication. Number one, know what I'm saying? Number one, know what I'm saying? We are the Law Talk with my crew. Number one, know what I'm saying? Number one, know what I'm saying? Number one,
I would like you to understand that I know what false identities are, and sometimes famous people need them. Marshall Bruce Mathers, Eminem, at one point studied law and passed the bar exam to become a lawyer. If he still is a lawyer, I want you to get a hold of him for me so that I can communicate with him.
Come to order, be seated, please.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Mr. Blandino's case. Mr. Blandino, over here, please.
I have not seen this, just saw it in the chat.
Currently, I'm representing myself on this case. I get the inside seat. So, of course, thanks. Kim Blandino appearing pro se for Kim Blandino.
Case A907619.
So, Your Honor, I know Mr. Dickerson is on his way up for this particular matter. I have to be in some other cases. The problem is, I'm not even on this case. This is his motion to either appoint me or not. I just wanted to let the court know, if you want to appoint me for whatever purposes, I'm happy to take the appointment and I can do it.
Okay, I do appreciate that.
So, whether it's substitute or whatever, or whatever. So I just want
So
to
you
let
will
you
be calling this case later then?
Your Honor,
Once-
I can handle it. He just lets me know, so.
Okay, all right. So go ahead. I know
Okay,
your
it's my motion then.
For appointment of, it says standby counsel.
Yes, and in conformity with WITIS, as I outlined in the motion, there's three main grounds that appointment is practical and warranted. Only A and C are relevant. The issues presented are difficult. I did a threshold petition, but I will have to amend and supplement that petition because of there's just so many grounds in there. And then C is counsel is necessary to proceed with discovery.
So many grounds.
Both of these grounds warrant what I'm asking for is appointment of standby counsel. As the judge knows, I was not allowed to represent myself at trial, even though I represented myself almost through entire pre-trial. And whether this petition, if this petition is granted or denied or dismissed, I've got the right to take that appeal.
Sure.
Representing myself to the Nevada Supreme Court. I was not allowed to do the direct appeal, as you well know. They denied me under Blandino versus State, 1994 case. I forget my own site.
They tend to,
Huh?
the Supreme Court tends to do what the Supreme Court wants to do.
Right, but I think it's perfectly reasonable for me to do this in light of the fact that there is going to be some extensive discovery. But I want the court to note that I've talked with the district attorney, Steve Wolfson. And as soon as we can get standby counsel appointed, he's going to take a meeting, because I think that we can resolve this issue without even, this petition, without even having to go into the evidentiary hearings status, that they will. We've got cooperation from former counsel who tried to get off the case, the main case in the criminal case. That's Ben Bateman. He tried to get him off. I tried to get him off. You denied that in both instances, and he will admit to certain ineffectiveness on his own part. So therefore, on judicial economy warrants not only this appointment, but going forward, the avenue I'm trying to do. I'm trying to save scarce judicial resources on this matter, because this thing can be resolved. I know all the case law says you can't summarily grant a petition, and if I give you grounds under what's that case? Hardcastle.
What's the state's position? Missy, what's your position?
Your Honor, the notes left by the deputy were just that the motion was a fugitive document, and the deputy didn't plan to respond unless ordered to by the court.
What, the motion for appointment of counsel?
Yeah, that's not.
It can't be fugitive. It can't be fugitive.
State, I can't hear them when you're talking over.
I'm sorry, Judge.
I don't know if he thought it was on for a different motion, so I just texted him to see.
Is he gonna come down? Because it's on for the motion for appointment of counsel.
Well, can I respond to that? It can't be fugitive, because I've asked for motion to leave.
No, that's.
I've asked for motion to leave to file the motion. It was filed. And so I'm still following the protocol. Under Judge Gibbons' order back in 2020, he said that even though the vexatious litigant order exists.
The right to file the motion for appointment of counsel.
Yeah, well.
All right, I'll grant that motion.
So stand by counsel then?
No, I will grant you the opportunity to file the motion.
Oh, I see.
Okay, thank you.
Well, this was the motion itself. I combined them into two.
Okay, well, clearly the state did not realize that, so I'll allow you to file the motion
Okay.
for appointment of counsel.
Who's accepting service on the DA's part, if I may ask?
Put it on for 1 week, and we'll put it on for 1 week.
Okay, Judge, could I have a copy of the transcript on this?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You order a
Same,
copy?
Ordinary course, do what you always do.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course you can, if you want a copy of the transcript, absolutely.
Status check on motion is going to be April 15th at 8:30 a.m.
Judge, just for perfect clarity, did you want me to supplement the briefing on this to give you some more meat on the bone?
Clearly, the state did not realize that, so I'll hear the motion for appointment of counsel on the 15th.
But are you asking for more meat on the bone? On the
It's up to you. You can do whatever you think is
Okay.
appropriate.
So you're not giving me any direction in that regard either way.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Your Honor, just for clarity,
I do appreciate that.
I
Don't
don't
worry,
need-
I won't forget that.
okay, I don't need to be here for the next one, right? But if you
No.
appoint me, the court will let me know.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank
Much
you.
appreciated.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Judge. I'm gonna stick around. This is an administrative matter, kind of thing. I need to see, I am a reporter and I need to see your face when I'm in the courtroom.
We're done. Thank you very
But
much.
I'm gonna sit in the gallery.
The
Your
15th.
bailiff will not allow me to see your
We'll
face.
on the 15th.
This monitor
Okay,
blocks your
all right,
face.
Mr. Fumo, are you
Can I
ready?
sit on this side? Can I sit on this side?
State of Nevada versus Grande.
Oh, good Lord. This monitor blacks your face. That and the cringe of, Judge, you want more meat on the bone? I got questions in there. Is he crazy? No, he's not crazy. I've talked to Kim. He's not even a bad guy. He's bored. He's bored, and that's his hobby. That's it. He's ultimately harmless. He's aside from being in court, he's a charming guy, actually. I think it was new. I just pulled it up. Our Advantage Treasures.
Disappointed in you. I'm disappointed in you. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, we have shaky state seal. Very exciting. Very exciting.
That really, really sucks. I mean, really, really.
Challenging it
Okay, in what way?
in a good way.
Why are you unnecessarily wasting the judicial time of this court?
excuse me if I'm a Matlock fan. And
a recording of that. So we won't record. There'll be no media recording of that. If my staff could bring in juror 16. Are all the jurors here? We've excused juror 4. The stipulation.
Are we going to an alternate here? Is that the idea? Juror 4 had issues since the start. I don't know what they are.
Oh man, I gotta get together.
There shall not be any cutting of trees. Don't cut any trees. I'll pass the order. No cutting of trees, no felling of trees in Patna number 12.
He is asking very nicely for you to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. And if you ignore Annie, you do realize that that is considered.
What?
Walked into the house, proceeded forward, saw a patient on the floor to the right, proceeded to the patient to start an assessment and evaluation.
And then Captain Keller had already come in.
I'm pretty confident, yes, he would have been quicker getting off the truck and inside.
And so you did your assessment and then what?
My assessment revealed that he was unresponsive, no pulse, no breathing, so I would have started CPR, started chest compressions.
Did you do that with his shirt on?
I would have lifted that out of the way so I could find the proper landmarks.
So you had said that you saw that there was, let's see, 2 gunshot wounds, is that correct?
Yes.
And then you saw that through the shirt? Or how did you assess that when you first entered? That's my question.
Once I'm doing CPR, I can see 2 bullet holes in the shirt. I can see that on the chest and on the abdomen. I can see the wounds as I'm looking at the chest and doing chest compressions.
Okay. And then he had on what color shirt?
I wouldn't have recalled other than, I guess, the video yesterday. I think it was a dark colored shirt I think we saw on the screen.
And so you had talked yesterday about the blood being more blood on chest, not pooled around your knees, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
And so with the dark shirt, was it hard to see the blood? I'm kind of trying to see what you saw when you entered.
I remember seeing blood on the chest. It wasn't, I remember not seeing blood on the abdomen.
And there were holes in the shirt, 2 holes in the front side?
I would, best of my recall, yes.
Okay. And when did you cut off the shirt and how does that procedure work?
I continued doing CPR, chest compressions. One of my other colleagues would have cut that off, and knowing that the shirt maybe is potentially evidence, that's why I said to her, don't cut through where the holes are. So she could have cut down the side instead of on the top of the body.
And do you use like a special scissors or something for that?
Yeah, we have some trauma shears in our equipment.
Okay. And who was that? Was that Phelps or?
I believe that was firefighter Kaczynski.
Okay, Kaczynski, that's one I didn't have. So who all was sitting there with you that was on scene at that time?
Firefighter Fife would have been there, firefighter Kaczynski, the three of us, kind of like we saw in the video or I get the picture yesterday, all three of us around the patient while Captain Keller was standing back a little bit like you saw in the picture.
Okay. You said that you had been a CPR instructor for 12 years, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And was that for the last 12 years or 12 years ago?
Approximate dates 2004 to 2016, let's say.
Okay. And so have you taught people who have never done CPR before?
Have I taught those individuals? Yes.
Right. And not just like people renewing their certification, but both?
Correct.
Okay. How many people would you say that you've taught that have never done CPR before?
Never done CPR, and it's probably in the hundreds over that long of doing that.
So you'd be familiar with how a first timer would react?
Yeah, you try to forewarn them what to expect.
Okay. So these first timers, they have to be taught the appropriate place to place their hands. Would that be fair?
That is part of the course, yes.
And so do you show them or do you just tell them in class where to put their hands?
It's a video-based system through American Heart. There's a curriculum that we would have been following.
Okay. So if you could only tell them like over the phone, that might be difficult for them to know the correct placement of their hands if they've never done it before.
I guess it depends on the instructions that the dispatcher gave. Ultimately, if I was telling somebody over the phone, you want to put your hands on their chest, on the lower part of the chest. It's that kind of simple, so to speak.
Okay. But without the video, if you were teaching a class and you didn't have the video, it might be difficult, right? For a bunch of first timers?
Objection, speculation.
Overruled. You can answer.
Did me answer? Oh, okay. Sorry. Can you repeat the question then?
Yeah, so it might be difficult. If you didn't have the video, it might be difficult, you know, for a bunch of first timers to know exactly what to do if you just had to tell them middle of the chest, lower chest.
I mean, you could obviously show on a person, you could show on yourself.
If you couldn't show them and you could only tell them, could it be difficult?
I suppose it's possible depending on the person.
Okay, that's fair. So do you think that your CPR class would be fairly successful if you had no visuals?
Objection, relevance, speculation.
Yeah. Next question.
I got it, Your Honor. So if a person had never done it before and was just told how to do it, is it possible that they might not be acquainted with where to put their hands?
It's possible.
And it would also be possible that they might not do it properly.
That could be possible too.
And right now, when you're teaching CPR, and I didn't say you are teaching right now, but if you're teaching a class, are they just doing percussions now? There's no breathing in the mouth, is that correct?
It's going to depend on the level of the class. As far as the lay rescuer, people that have never done it before that just want to have the training, it's evolved and we're teaching compression only. That is a form of CPR now also, just doing chest compressions.
And how long do you teach to do that for? How long of a period before you take a rest or?
Well, it varies depending on if patient is an adult or a child. There are different guidelines that American Heart offers. So in those courses, they're getting to learn information for adults and children and infants also.
Correct, right. So for an adult, how long, like 30, 100, 150? It's been a while, so just wondering.
With an adult, they're also taught they need to call for help right away also. So that's a factor. Are they alone? Is somebody else able to call? Can they call, put the phone on speaker, start, while like talking to 911? And then they would just keep going until help arrives.
So there's no timing, like you take a 10-second break, you just do compressions?
Not for that type of level of CPR, there wasn't.
Okay. So it's helpful if you had someone there that you could like take turns, like I do 100 and then you do 100, because it's kind of exhausting, right?
Objection, compound question, relevance.
I'll sustain it as the compound question. You can re-ask the question ask it in a different way. Go ahead.
So how long did you administer the CPR before you did the flip over? How long do you think that was?
Before we rolled him to look at the back, is that what you're?
Correct. Yes, that's correct.
I would estimate maybe up to a minute.
Okay. And then were you counting compressions? Is that what you were doing during that time, or do you not count? You just do it for a certain amount of time?
I don't recall if I was counting. I mean, I was doing the chest compressions while waiting for the rest of the team to arrive and for us to continue assessing, see if we're going to continue to work the patient and utilize more equipment.
And there were 3 of you there?
4 total, but 3 by the patient.
Okay. And then you could take turns, right? Like trade off if you needed to?
If we needed to, yes.
So that'd be a lot easier than when you're just there by yourself. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know how long after the rolling over did you started doing compressions again? Is that correct?
Yes.
That's what I had.
Yes, I believe so.
And how long did you do that for?
I would estimate maybe upwards of another minute.
So maybe 2 minutes total?
During that sequence, yes.
And was there another sequence?
At some point, we would have stopped doing chest compressions so we could evaluate the heart rhythm. That's on the heart monitor.
With the heart monitor?
And you can't be doing compressions to evaluate that.
Okay. And then you didn't continue compressions after the heart monitor at all?
From what I recall, I resumed again in brief discussion as far as what direction we were going to go.
And what were the results of the heart monitor?
There was no electrical activity.
And how long was the heart monitor applied compared to when you started the first compressions?
I'm not sure if I understand the question. Maybe you can reword it or.
Sure. How far into your treatment, I should say, did you guys stop and do the heart monitor?
I would estimate that the monitor probably was on within 2 minutes of making patient contact.
Okay. And how long does that take?
To do what? To put it on?
Well, yeah, to put it on, get a reading, and decide what you're going to do next.
It could take, you got to turn it on, open up a compartment to get the pads out of that compartment. You've got to open that packaging to be able to apply it to the patient's chest area. If the chest is wet, which there's some blood, you need to dry that so it's going to adhere more properly, read more properly. So you could be looking at 30 seconds to a minute possibly of working through that.
Okay. And did you have to do that in this case, is remove blood to stick them on?
I would assume so, but I was doing chest compressions, so that would have been one of the other 2 firefighters kind of working through that.
Okay. So I understand correctly, you said when you rolled him over, did you cut the shirt in the back also to see the exit wounds? Is that?
No, we only had to cut the shirt one time. That was when he was still laying on his back. You cut it down the side and that opens it up to where then you can remove it from the body, pull it off.
So you did pull it off completely at some point?
More than likely, I would say yes. That's typically what we would do.
Okay. But you don't remember if you did that in this case?
I know that I didn't do that because I was doing chest compressions. So I would assume one of my colleagues did that completely. That's typically what we do.
Okay. And so you're back to doing the compressions for the third time, and then you stopped that at some point. Was there another procedure after that?
No, at that point in time is when we would have called the patient.
And who announces that?
Ultimately, I remember our captain, since he's in charge of the crew, would be considered the lead medic. He has the most experience. He's also charting the call, kind of running it, kind of made that final decision.
And that would be Captain Keller? I'm sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you.
Yes, correct.
And then he did call it at, do you know what time?
It would have, I don't have it memorized, no, it would have been like in the charting that he was doing.
And who documents that?
He would have
He
documented
would have
that.
done it. In preparation for your testimony here today, did you review the 911 call at all?
No, not in preparation for today. Not the actual audio, no.
No.
No, not today, not for this.
What did you review for today?
I was able to look at the incident times were dispatched by Phoenix Fire Department. I was able to look at the paper documentation.
Oh, good Lord.
There would be scene times, date, time, address, patient information, name, address, maybe medical history.
Is it back on
things
for
that
you?
A narrative of what we discovered, what we've done, treatments that we've done, the heart rhythm from the monitor gets attached to it.
So that would all be in Captain Keller's report?
Correct.
And you did take a look at that in preparation for today?
Yes.
And did you write a report regarding this incident?
No.
You don't have to document anything?
Just one person documents the call.
So for all the people that were there from fire?
Correct.
Okay. So that's the total report, is you just give your input to him and he puts it into the report?
Correct.
And that's the same for the other two firefighters that were along with you?
That's correct.
Okay. They don't have their own individual reports as well?
No.
Okay. And what time were you dismissed from the scene?
I mean, we probably only remained an additional 5 to 10 minutes. The chart would have that time. I don't necessarily have it by memory.
So how long were you at the scene total? Like,
if I had to estimate without looking at it, I would say approximately 20, 25 minutes.
okay. And then you were like the driver of the truck, right? Was that your responsibility? So you
Correct.
drove in and then did you drive out as well?
Correct.
Okay. So if you guys arrived around 8:41 or something like that, then you left around 25 minutes later? Would that be accurate?
I guess when I was giving that estimate of like the 2025, I was even including like our dispatch time from the time we're dispatched driving to the scene. So if you're wanting to know actual on scene time, it might be closer, instead of the 20 to 25, it might be more of a closer to 20 solid. Like
20 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that typical for a call?
It can vary depending on the calls.
Okay. So what other things did you do in that 20 minutes besides administer to the patient?
So I'm including in that time while we're staged around the corner, waiting for PD to arrive, then for PD to clear the scene, for us to drive to the scene. There's the time with the patient, and then there's going to be the cleanup afterwards. Removing our equipment, going outside. Maybe the equipment needs to be cleaned, restocked, ready for another call. So when we drive away, we're ready to respond to another emergency and then drive away.
Okay. So when you were done with the patient and you were going through that procedure of cleaning, were you in the house or did you exit the house?
We'll remove all of our stuff and we'll go outside, typically to the front bumper of the fire truck.
And then what do you do?
We have cleaning chemicals on the truck that we could get out to, clean our equipment up to reuse it. We've got cabinet with restock to be able to restock anything that might need to be. So we'll take care of those things to be ready to respond to another call.
Okay. And while you were out front, did you see Alex on the curb?
I did see somebody on the curb, or I don't remember if he was on the curb or standing, but I remember seeing somebody with an officer or officers. I don't recall how many people might have been together.
Okay. And did you converse with those officers at all during that time?
I don't believe so. I don't really remember conversing with any officers on scene. That would have been more Captain Keller, charting, documenting, kind of getting information from them. He would be able to answer that question.
Okay. So did you, was anybody in firefighting on your team, the four of you that were there, was anyone asked to take a look at Alex?
We were not.
Let's see. Have you spoken to the media about this case?
I'm going to object. Relevance.
What's the relevance?
What is the relevance, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Just to know how many times he's given testimony?
Your Honor, I'm
All right,
going
I'm gonna
to, maybe we can
hold on.
sidebar.
Yeah, I don't want to. All right, let's go on sidebar.
You could come up with relevance, but that's not it. Oh, good Lord. You'd think with nothing else to do but think about your case, you could figure out a few of these things. Not be smooth, but just have some vague notion of these sorts of objections. That's all she does. Sit in jail and sit in court. That's all her life has been for a while now. You'd think you'd pick up something, but no.
Okay, just a few more questions. Mr. Cowden, is it possible that if there was a wound to the chest, that doing compressions on that could cause other damage?
I suppose it's possible, but ultimately it doesn't matter. If the heart isn't beating, it's what you got to do. It's the appropriate treatment.
So would a common person who doesn't know how to do CPR maybe hesitate about pushing on a bullet wound?
Objection, speculation.
Sustain.
But you wouldn't?
Can you repeat the question?
You wouldn't hesitate to push on the bullet wound if the heart was stopped?
No, I wouldn't.
And you would have to assess if the heart was stopped in order to do that?
Yes, you would check a pulse like we did. We would, use our equipment like we did.
Okay. So the two wounds that you saw when you first got there, one was in the chest and one was where?
In the abdomen.
On the right side or the left side?
I would be speculating as to how the specific spot or area without actually maybe seeing documentation.
Okay. And can you tell me about I think there's a word for it, but I'm sorry, I can't remember what it was. The crunch.
When doing the chest compressions?
Correct.
I don't know if there was necessarily a certain word that I used, but you feel the sternum crack. I compare it to, like I said before, cracking your knuckles.
And how much pressure would you have to apply to get the crack?
That could vary, like depending on who you're doing CPR on.
Like on an adult male?
I mean, it could still vary depending on, the strength of the person doing CPR also. It could vary depending on the size of that adult male also. So I've never seen like any science that might say you got to deliver this much pounds of force or anything.
Right,
So,
like 400 pounds of pressure or something?
Yeah, I don't know. Right.
Okay.
You're just going to push
there isn't-
hard.
Hold on.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Can't have you talk over one another. So he's finished his answer. Go ahead and answer your next question.
So there's no determined amount of pressure, correct?
Just hard and fast. When it comes to people doing CPR, for us, we're working as a team. We have equipment that can tell us if we're pushing hard enough. For a person without that equipment, just hard and fast.
Okay, that's fair. And then they don't always get the crack, right? It's not always going to happen.
If they're doing it forcefully enough, they would.
So if they didn't do it forcefully enough, it wouldn't.
That is possible, yes.
But then when you come in, the professionals, and you apply the correct amount of force, then you would hear the crack.
Yes,
And is that possible that that happened in this case?
it is possible.
Okay, no more questions.
All right, redirect.
Does 911 have to regularly instruct people on how to perform CPR?
I don't know if I can answer that since I don't, do that since I'm not 911.
Have you regularly heard while listening to a radio 911 instructing people on how to do CPR?
We have had PTI information when we're responding to a call that will tell us that they are either performing CPR or being instructed to.
So you've seen in the past that 911 is prepared to handle individuals who may not know how to perform CPR.
Yes.
And that's to help try to keep the patient's blood moving while you're en route.
Correct.
You were asked a lot about trading off and other people doing compressions. At this scene with this patient, Charles Vallow, did you ever trade off and have someone else do the CPR compressions?
No.
You were the only one doing the CPR compressions.
Yes.
Were you doing CPR while another paramedic or EMT was getting the heart monitor ready?
Yes.
So this timeline of however long it took them is in conjunction with you still performing CPR.
Yes.
You talked about Charles's shirt being cut. If photographs from the scene show his shirt still around his neck, would that indicate that it wasn't removed from him?
After the cutting?
Yeah, so if police, let me ask you this. When you guys are done and he's called deceased, do you put his clothing back on or modify him in any way?
No, we would just take our equipment that's necessary to take.
So if his shirt was still around his neck, then that's how it would have been left.
Correct.
You were asked about whether or not you should perform CPR on a person who has a gunshot wound. Is there any reason why a person with a gunshot wound would not need to have blood circulating through their body to bring oxygen versus some other type of injury?
No.
Is the whole point of CPR to make sure that blood is circulating to get oxygen to their brain
Yes.
so that they don't go brain dead?
Yes.
And you said that ultimately it wouldn't matter if you cause more injuries because if they're brain dead, who cares, right?
Correct.
In your assessment, did you feel that no one had performed CPR on Charles Vallow before you arrived?
I had felt that, and I do know in my testimony to Chandler PD, I had stated that, or it's probably in my testimony that it was not efficient or something to those lines, but I felt like no, it had not.
Okay, you felt like no, it had not been done.
Correct.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, I see at least one juror question. We'll go on a sidebar. Please, if you're a juror and you have any additional questions, pass down your question to the basket.
Get ready for some weird stuff.
All right, sir, you can step down.
No questions. All right. think we can all agree Lori handled that horribly.
State called Ken Keller.
All right, so you're going to come on up here. You're going to stand right here and be sworn in.
Thank you. Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
All right, you're going to come up this ramp over here and have a seat to my left. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, would you please introduce yourself to the jury?
My name is Kent Keller. I'm a recently retired captain with Chandler Fire Department.
When did you retire?
April of 2022.
And how long did you work with the Chandler Fire Department?
32 years.
While you were there in, let's talk about 2019, what were your duties? What was your rank?
My rank was captain. I was an engine captain, so a company officer. I was in charge of a 4-person crew. We basically respond for calls to service and the different functions of a.
Did those calls for service include medical calls?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any training in the area of, I guess, medical treatment yourself?
Yes, I'm a paramedic. I went to paramedic school in 1991.
And can you tell us, is there or was there ongoing type of continuing training to be a paramedic?
Yes, yes, ma'am. There is continuing education throughout the year. You have to have a certain number of hours in each subject, and as well as updates as far as pharmacology or different treatment modalities. So yes, there is constant change.
And the difference between a paramedic and an EMT?
Well, an EMT is EMTB, EMT basic. A paramedic is an EMT paramedic. So the biggest difference would be invasive treatments. So you're trained with more ability to provide care, cardiology and pharmacology.
When fire gets a call of a person who is shot, what is sort of the normal response? What does fire do when they are coming to a scene and they know a person has been shot?
Well, what they normally would do is you get the dispatch, you look on a map, you route yourself in, and then you would determine a safe place to stage while the scene is secured by PD.
Okay. And then how do you learn that the scene is secure?
In Chandler, anyway, we have interagency communication. So you're on the radio both with Phoenix Dispatch and Chandler PD, direct car to car or to Chandler PD Dispatch.
So you're actually then told by Chandler Police that it's secure and you can come in?
Yes, ma'am. They will give you a scene safe or code 4 and cop talk.
When you arrive on scene, as the captain, what is your role when you get there?
My role is scene safety, primary scene safety. That's rule number one in everything that we do. And in other words, as I arrive on scene, I'm going to make sure with PD that there are no more threats for our crew and get direction to where we need to do treatment.
When you have this team of 4, how do you determine who does what?
Well, I mean, that's individual crew training, and some crews might have specific jobs. Ours is more of a fill and flow. As you come to, I guess I should say, one person is charting, one person is going to be the paramedic in charge of the call. So he's running the call. His job is bigger picture. And then that'll leave 3 people for hands-on treatment until a 2-person rescue would arrive, an ambulance would arrive to help, if that were the case.
Does fire ever respond to a scene and then advise that a person is deceased?
Certainly.
And if fire responds, determines a person is deceased, and this is potentially a crime scene, what does fire do at that point?
Well, fire then would pick up their gear and leave without disturbing that scene as much as possible. I mean, we have gear, we spread out our gear. When we get to a patient, you know, we have monitors and drug boxes and trauma treatment boxes. So as soon as it's determined that the patient is not viable, then you would pick up that gear and leave the scene. What you don't want to do is interfere with any investigation going forward.
And even when you are working on a person, are you trying to limit impacting the scene itself to the best of your ability?
Yes, our job would be to determine if treatment is necessary and then do that treatment regardless. But yes, what I should do, what the captain or whoever that paramedic should do that has the larger picture would be to try and minimize any disturbing of the scene.
But obviously, taking care of the patient is the primary focus, even if that causes the scene to be disturbed.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you working on July 11th of 2019 around 8:30 in the morning?
Yes.
Do you recall responding to a shooting at 5531 South 4 Peaks in Chandler?
Yes.
When you responded or first went to the scene, did you guys stage like we've discussed?
Yes, ma'am.
And you advised that you're being provided information from 2 different sources?
Yes, our primary source is Phoenix Dispatch. But yes, you are able to monitor Chandler PD as well.
Is Phoenix Dispatch 911?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're getting what's coming in from 911. Are they relaying information to you?
Yes.
Are things like whether or not the patient is receiving CPR something that is very relevant to you?
Yes.
In this case, did you receive any information regarding that?
Yes. We were told that CPR instruction had been given and CPR was in progress.
Does 911, in your experience in over 30 years, are they able to provide instruction for lay people who may not know how to do 911 or not know how to do CPR compressions?
Yes, they are actually certified to do that. They train and are certified to give that instruction over the phone.
So even though it's only verbal, they've been trained to how to present that to a person over the phone.
Yes.
So you are advised that CPR instructions have been given and that CPR is being, or that compressions are being given? Yes, sir.
Been a little while, but yes, I believe that I was told, I do know that instruction, I do remember specifically hearing that, CPR in progress. I believe I remember, I would have to, but definitely the CPR instructions had been given.
Does knowing that a person has been receiving CPR impact the way you view a patient when you enter a scene?
Yes.
How?
Well, because it would make the patient more viable. If adequate CPR were given prior to our arrival, then you would hope that good CPR was given and that oxygenated blood was being pushed around the body, which would mean that make the patient more viable at that point.
When you go to a scene where you believe CPR is given, such as this one, was that one of the things, I guess, that was part of your decision-making as you are assessing this patient?
Yes.
Can you talk to us about when you entered this residence, what do you recall?
When I entered the residence, I recall thinking that the house seemed empty, like it was either being moved into or moved out of. So there was no furniture or anything. We had a clear path to where the patient was. And I remember thinking that there's very little in this room other than the patient.
Okay. Did you notice at any point some items around the patient?
The only thing I remember being around the patient was a baseball bat and a ball cap.
And do you recall at this point where those items were in relation to him?
Yes, I believe the baseball bat would have been on the patient's right and the ball cap above him somewhere in the room. I think the baseball bat was against a wall on his right.
Do you recall ever seeing a bullet near the victim?
Once we started assessing, I did see a bullet, a spent round on the floor.
So that's sort of a little bit into you're in the
Yes, ma'am.
scene.
Yes.
Wasn't something you initially recognized?
No, no.
While you're in there, was there any officers in the room with you or inside the house?
There was at least one officer still clearing the house, I believe, or at least going through the house. I only recall for sure one officer being interior.
Can you describe for us how the patient, how Charles was laying when you first observed him?
Yes, ma'am. He was laying supine. He was laying on his back. As we entered, his head was towards us, so geographically, I think north. So that's how he was laying supine.
Do you recall anything about his arms or hands where they were?
I don't. To his sides. I don't recall, honestly.
Did you observe any injuries to Charles, this patient?
Yes, he had evidently a gunshot wound to his center chest. Hole in the shirt and a small amount of blood.
Did you recall or notice anything about where the blood was pooling from that shot to the chest?
At that time, I did not, because we have to expose the patient, and the so he's a big guy. So he had a small amount of blood above his sternum.
I'm showing you Exhibit 3 that's previously been admitted. Does that look like,
If it adjusts a little bit, but
Okay.
you can attempt.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
are you able to see that there?
Yes,
Kind of. Does this look like the patient that you were working on?
yes,
And in this, do you see the blood pooling in Exhibit 3 there?
yes,
Is that sort of what you were talking about?
yes. Here in around the collarbone. So there's a divot here that
Would you describe this patient as a fit man?
he seemed to be, yes.
When you saw that pooling like that, did that stand out to you or seem at all impactful in your decision of whether or not CPR had been given prior to your arrival?
Yes.
Why is that?
Because had adequate CPR been given there, I would have expected more blood possibly on there and perhaps a pool of blood under him. I didn't see any blood under him. I mean, when we first got there.
So when you guys first arrived, let's go back to sort of describing the scene. You said that you didn't notice any blood pooling under him.
I did not.
And is that something that you guys are cognizant of since you're going to have to get down and around him?
Yes, but we're more cognizant of it because it would indicate an exit wound. And obviously, the more blood there is, the more the heart was beating or CPR was being done.
Okay. So both the lack of spreading on him is one indication that kind of made you question if CPR had been given?
Yes, ma'am.
And the lack of pooling of blood underneath him was another sort of
Yes.
flag to you that maybe CPR had not been given.
And no one was doing CPR when we got there. Would have been the primary indicator to me. And I say that because if CPR were in progress by PD, if there were an officer there doing CPR, then they would have continued to do CPR until we relieved them.
If a person is shot and deceased and you start giving them compressions, can you still push blood out of those wounds?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at some point when fire arrives and they are assessing a patient, do they, I'm going to put up Exhibit 4 here. Do you need to try to remove any garments that might be around those potential gunshot wounds?
Yes, you would expose the patient.
Why is that?
Well, because you don't know for sure how many gunshots there are. You check for exit wounds. Some gunshot wounds, some entry wounds are minimal. You wouldn't see them. You know, you could go through a shirt and not see them. So you expose the patient.
Okay. I have Exhibit 4 up here from body cam from a officer that's previously been admitted. Do you recognize who these people are and where this is?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this you?
It is.
So in this case, at some point, was Charles's shirt cut in any way to allow access to those gunshot wounds?
That would be the norm. Is at this point they would be cutting his shirt.
Do you recall from this scene how many gunshot wounds you observed to the front of Mr. Vallow?
I believe 2.
Okay. Now, when you guys first arrived on scene, do you check the pulse? Like, what do you do when you first get there?
Yes, you would check for pulses, carotid pulse, and obvious signs of life breathing, so chest rise and fall, as you are walking up to a patient.
So in this case for Charles Vallow, did you guys find a pulse?
No, ma'am.
Did you notice him breathing?
No.
Do you do any other assessments before you start compressions?
No.
So if he's not breathing and you don't see that he has a pulse, why begin CPR? Why start compressions?
Because you don't know how long he has not been breathing or not had a pulse.
Okay.
He could have just stopped those things moments before we got there, which would make him a viable candidate, or a viable patient rather.
And does, again, the fact that you believe CPR had been performed prior to you arriving also play into your decision to see if he's viable?
Yes.
As other officers are doing compressions, what are you doing there?
So I am charting. So I am, in this particular case, I was running the call. So I'm going down a checklist, gathering information, getting, listening to what they're telling me, and having them, I'm directing them throughout the call.
Okay. So at some point, are compressions stopped to assess the patient in other ways?
Yes, after a heart monitor is on.
Okay. And so are compressions able to be performed while someone else is getting the heart monitor ready?
Yes, compressions continue throughout until you stop compressions to check for pulses.
Okay. Do you ever want to check a patient who you see have gunshot wounds, such as Mr. Vallow here, to see if there's exit wounds?
Yes, ma'am, immediately. So they would have cut his shirt, taken his shirt off, rolled him, checked for exit wounds, and then rolled him back and continued compressions.
In this case, are you documenting your observations and others about what you observed when he was rolled?
Yes.
So when he's rolled, you're looking at his back?
Back, right, from the back of the head to the back of the feet.
Okay, so he's completely rolled over so that you can see his back. Did you notice anything about Mr. Vallow's back that may have indicated he'd been there for significantly longer than you originally thought?
He did have lividity. So there was modeling, skin modeling and lividity. Once the shirt comes off, then you could see modeling on the skin, and lividity had begun to form.
Can you tell us what modeling means?
Modeling is sort of a patchy looking skin caused from hypoxia or not enough oxygen getting to the skin. I mean, you can have mottled skin for different reasons, but in this case, it would be from his heart not beating.
Okay, and then you said lividity. What does
Yes,
that
ma'am.
mean?
So lividity is the pooling of blood, and that takes longer, much longer. So the blood will begin to leave the tissues and gravity drain to the lowest part of the body.
So when the blood isn't being circulated by either CPR or the heart, the blood just starts to pool there.
Yes.
And so you noticed that as well when he was rolled?
Yes.
Did you notice any exit wounds?
I did notice at least one exit wound, yes.
After you looked at his back, do you recall, I guess, when in this process you checked his heart monitor, when that was done?
I do not. This all happens simultaneously. You ask what these different people are doing. They're doing all of those things simultaneously. So the patient is exposed, CPR has begun, and the evaluation, the rest of the evaluation is happening. So timeline, it's on the heart monitor, I'm sure, but So a lot of it happens simultaneously. That answer the question you asked that again? I'm
I
sorry.
believe so. Do you recall what the heart monitor results were?
Asystole. No electrical rhythm in the heart. Flat line for,
Do you ever look at a patient's pupils?
yes, ma'am, always.
What's that for?
Because if it's just a brain function, if you shine light on pupils, they react. When the brain stops to function, hypoxia sets in, the pupils will dilate and remain fixed, so they won't change. They're non-reactive to light.
What did you see with Mr. Vallow?
They were fixed and non-reactive.
So we heard about the pooling of the blood on Mr. Vallow when you first arrived. As CPR was being done, did you notice any blood being pushed out of his body?
A little bit more. Again, he is on his back. Exit wound was in his back, but yes, we increased the amount of blood under the patient by doing CPR.
When you first arrived, did you notice any active bleeding?
No, ma'am.
What's the relevance of no active bleeding?
No heartbeat.
She caught people being nonchalant.
Were you advised of Scott Cowden's information about when he started CPR, hearing the crunch, or feeling, I guess, the crunch of him performing CPR?
Was I advised of it?
Yeah, did he let you know that?
No, but that would be expected.
And is that expected if CPR hadn't been performed?
No, not adequately. Again, big guy.
Ben, we saw you earlier.
So that the sternum the cartilage holding the sternum to the ribs breaks. It gives way. So, and that actually makes CPR much easier.
In this case, you came in, he wasn't breathing, he was pulseless, his pupils were dilated, the heart monitor said there was no activity, correct? Yes. When you looked at his back, you noticed both mottling, which meant that the blood wasn't moving through his body?
Yes, and modeling was on the front as well.
Okay.
So as that blood pools, so it leaves the tissue, that's gonna hasten the modeling part of it.
So you noticed that when the shirt was then cut and
yes.
he was exposed,
yes.
as well as when he was rolled?
Yes.
And then you also noticed on the back the lividity of the blood pooling there?
Yes.
When you, I guess, obtained all of that information, did you end life-saving measures?
Yes.
Who decides to end life-saving measures?
I do, as well as the rest of the crew. So Scott Cowden is also a paramedic, and he concurred. So then we call that in, and we cease life-saving function, or attempts rather.
When you cease life-saving measures at a scene where someone's been shot and is now deceased at the scene, do you leave sort of any attached medical devices with him?
Well, as little as possible. So what would have been left on him would have been defibrillator pads, probably EKG electrodes, and probably a CPR puck.
Okay. Now, when you arrived on scene or when you were exiting, did you ever notice any male outside that might have been with some police officers?
Oh, a person?
Yeah.
Yes. One person, one male.
And did you notice him when you arrived or when you left?
Well, when I arrived, again, my job in particular is to kind of get a larger overview of the scene. So I did notice a person talking with PD.
And when you observed this person, did you notice anything that he appeared to be injured in any way?
No,
So no obvious injuries to you?
no,
If you had been asked to treat him, would you have?
of course.
Did you see that same person outside when you left?
Yes.
And when you left, did you observe anything about him again that he appeared to be injured in any way?
No.
Did you ever see a female and a female teenager at the scene?
Yes.
Where did you see them?
They were across the street from the house we were at.
Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
I see the adult, yes.
Can you point her out and let us know what she's wearing?
Dark blazer at the defendant's table. Dark clothes, I'm not sure.
Okay. State will ask the record to reflect the witnesses identified the defendant.
Good job.
Did you overhear her talking or saying anything?
I did overhear her talking with the police officers, or someone said something about not getting invited to a pool party because of the commotion at the house or something. So.
What? Did you have any formal interaction with her?
No.
When you sort of completed and left this scene, looking back and assessing it based upon your training, your experience, what you observed and what was done to Mr. Vallow at the scene, would you agree that Charles Vallow was dead before you entered the house?
Yes.
Based upon your training, your experience, what you observed and what was done to Mr. Vallow, would you agree that it was highly unlikely that anyone had performed CPR on Charles Vallow prior to fire arriving?
Yes.
I have no other questions, Your Honor.
All right, Cross.
Captain Keller.
Yes.
You were first on the scene?
The police department was first, but yes, we were the first fire unit.
First fire on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And can you explain to us what staging is exactly? I'm not really sure.
Sure. Staging, when there's some violent incident, the fire department, the firefighters don't have protective equipment for that sort of a scene. So we will go to a place where close to whatever the dispatched address is, that we would be a place of safety, but close, so that as soon as the scene is made safe by the police department, then we would enter into the scene.
So that would be like a couple houses away, or?
Could be a couple
Really?
houses, could be behind cover. In this case, it was gunshot was the call. So you want to make sure that you are a little ways away,
Okay.
in case there was more gunshots.
Right. So you parked somewhere on the street, but a couple houses down from the house. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then part of that staging is you stay there until you get the all clear?
Yes, until the police department says that it's safe to enter the scene.
Okay. And you were wearing body cam that day?
No, we don't wear body
Oh,
cam.
you don't wear body cam? Okay. You were just that was a picture from you on the body cam?
On one
On
of the
someone
police
else's
officers,
body cam?
yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you use any instruments to obtain current body temperature? Do you guys have an instrument for that?
No.
No? Would that help you give a more approximate time of calling a time of death?
It wouldn't help me. I'm not trained to do that. So we don't have that. It's not within our scope of practice to determine that.
It's not part of paramedics training?
No.
Okay. You explained the modeling being patchy looking skin
Yes.
because of no oxygen to the skin. Is that correct?
Decreased, yes.
And so will that continue to increase? I don't really understand. Like it, would you say modeling is complete or in progress? How does that work?
I would say in progress as less and less tissue had oxygenation. I would say it continues to model.
So would you say it was in early progress or late progress? How would you estimate that?
I could not say early or late, just modeling.
That modeling was present
Yes, yes.
at that point. So how long would it take for modeling to become present? That's kind of my question.
I don't know how long.
So it could be like
different for different people, I suppose.
So it could be a minute? 5 minutes?
Yeah, he's already indicated.
Hold on. Rephrase the question. I'll allow it, but make sure you let him answer before you ask your next question.
Okay. So it could be just a few minutes, possibly?
Possibly. I don't know.
Okay. And then lividity, you explained as a pooling of blood. The blood leaves the tissues and goes to the bottom. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you saw that as well?
Yes.
And in your estimation, would that have happened soon? You know, oh, that's not a good question. In your estimation, that had begun?
Yes.
And was it advancing how far?
He had lividity on the back of his torso,
So does lividity,
backs of his arms.
does lividity start immediately after the heart stops? Is that what you were saying?
I suppose it does.
Okay. And if you were on any kind of medication, would that affect that as well?
I couldn't say.
And what time of death did you document? You were making the document, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what time of death did you document?
I did not put time of death, but I put a time of treatment being ceased, and I don't recall what that time was. It's on that report.
And you had stated that you were listening to dispatch on the radio, is that correct?
Yes.
So were you listening to the actual 911 operator speaking?
No, whoever is calling, if you call on the phone to a 911 operator, they would give that information to a dispatcher who would then dispatch a call with the pertinent information.
Okay, so you were getting kind of updates as it went along?
No, you get the initial call, and then if it were pertinent for us, like the scene is secure, PD says the scene is secure, go in, then we would get that. PD would call dispatch, and dispatch would then call us.
Okay, so were you aware at all that they had asked him to come outside?
No.
Okay. You just saw that he was outside, but you didn't know that the 911 operator had told him to come outside, is that correct?
I did not know who he was or how he was involved in it.
Okay.
When we arrived.
So on those dispatch updates, it wasn't saying like shooter is in-house or shooter is outside or anything like that? Okay, that wouldn't be.
Not to us.
That's what I'm saying.
That might be to the police department, but that's not something we would hear.
Okay. In this case, Captain Keller, do you know for a fact that CPR had not been given?
I do not know for a fact.
And do you know for a fact that CPR had been given?
I know for a fact that we gave CPR.
Prior to your coming in?
No.
No further questions?
All right, redirect.
Which do you see first, modeling or lividity? When the heart stops and the blood is no longer pumping.
Modeling.
Okay.
I would expect to see modeling first.
And you told us, I think on direct, that lividity is something that you see much later.
Yes. I would expect that, yes.
Have you treated patients before within a few minutes of their heart stopping?
Yes.
Do you see lividity in those people?
No.
Do you see modeling in those people?
No. You see skin conditions change in those people, gray or cooling, moist, moisture, but not modeling or lividity.
So you're not here to tell us how long it takes for those to form, right?
I don't know.
All you can tell us is that it's something that you see in patients who are deceased
Yes.
and have been deceased long enough, whatever time period that is, for that to happen.
Right. It is an indication of the patient no longer being a viable patient.
And that was one of the things that you noted and used in determining to end any life-saving measures?
Yes.
Now, is the only way to know if CPR has been given to be there with the person watching them?
No.
What else can tell you that CPR was given to a patient?
Well, PD on scene arriving would witness, the best way would be witness CPR.
That's the best way. Is there any other ways?
Well, yes. Again, you would have an indentation in the chest. The sternum would likely be have been cracked loose from the rib cage. And there would be, in the case of trauma, increased bleeding. Obviously you do CPR or CCR sometimes when there's not trauma, cardiac.
In this case, were other indicators the blood that was pooling only at the neck and not spread out further?
Yes.
The lack of pooling underneath the victim?
Yes, and the mechanical action of doing compressions with a gunshot wound right there would have spread blood in that area as well. It wouldn't just have gone where gravity is.
So where you saw is where you saw the blood pooling was where gravity, a low spot.
That was my interpretation of it, yes.
And you did not observe spread blood across his chest?
No.
Would ongoing CPR movement of the blood through the body have also limited the modeling you may have seen?
Perhaps.
Ultimately, is it your opinion that it is unlikely that CPR was given to this patient prior to fire arriving?
Yes.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
Are there any juror questions? I see at least one coming down. Please pass those down. Put on the white noise first. to administer medications to aid the heart and functioning, i.e. ephedrine? If no, why not?
It's not indicated for trauma. It doesn't, if there's no blood to pump or the heart has stopped pumping, increasing how fast the heart pumps with ephedrine would do nothing. So in trauma, it is not indicated.
Was ACLS protocol followed?
Yes.
Was there a physician patched in?
No, there's no patch required for cessation of treatment. It is part of our ability and part of our training to determine non-viability.
Are fire department personnel allowed to call a patient's death?
Yes. However, time of death is a different thing if that's what you're asking. In other words, we are allowed to stop attempting to do life-saving treatment if it's merely a recovery. So does that answer?
Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have if the defense, first of all, let me check. Are there any other juror questions for this witness? I don't see any. The defense can follow up based on those questions if you want.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, how about the state?
Just a couple. Sir, when would you use ephedrine?
Well, if you had just asystole, but it was a cardiac-based code. If the heart had stopped due to some disease state, electric shock, for instance, you would use epi. Are you saying epinephrine
Yeah,
is what
yeah.
you're saying, right?
If so, when you're looking at whether or not to push drugs to try to get the heart to restart, you're looking at the type of trauma that caused the heart to stop.
And how long it's been since the heart stopped.
So in a place where you said there is trauma, meaning like a gunshot wound?
Like a hole in the vessel, yes.
So that is treated differently than if someone has a heart attack and
Yes, yes.
you were asked about.
These are all algorithms, protocols that are given for us to operate on scenes under medical control to whoever asked about the patch.
What is then the ACLS protocol?
Advanced cardiac life support. And it's just, again, it's a flow chart. Are there obvious signs of death? Yes. Stop CPR.
So here, you followed that protocol and stopped CPR.
Yes, ma'am. CCR technically, but yes.
You were asked about contacting a physician, a patch or something for a cessation of treatment.
Right.
Are there times where you do patch in with a physician?
Sure. You would patch en route, not for a code. You would patch en route and give a doctor, or actually it would be a nurse answering the phone, but you would let them know what you have and what treatment you have given and what treatment you are going to give en route to their facility to continue care. We are primarily to stabilize and turn over the patient, making it more viable for a rescue.
So when you terminate treatment because a patient is not viable, you cannot revive them, you don't need to talk to a doctor about that.
No, you need to call in that you did it. So there would have been a patch after that. but you don't have to call in to cease treatment.
So you don't need a blessing by a doctor to stop life-saving treatment.
Well, no, we have the blessing through our certifications and through our training. So we are operating under a doctor's license at any time we are operating. So that doctor or this group of doctors usually understands our training level and agrees to trains us to make that decision, yes.
And so ultimately, as a paramedic, you have the authority to use that protocol to determine when you are no longer able to revive or
Yes.
save the life of a patient.
Cease life-saving functions, yes.
And that's what you did here.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have no other questions.
All right, you can step down. We're going to take our lunch recess. I'll remind the jury of the admonition. We will resume at 1:30 p.m.
All rise for the jury.
All right. All right. I wanted to see if things would get going. They didn't. I have stuff to attend to this afternoon, so I'm going to close this down. I don't think I'm going to be back unless things clear out amazingly fast, which I doubt. So that's just it. I'm just giving you a heads up. I tried to talk Ben into doing it. I tried to talk Ben into doing the afternoon stream, but no such luck. No such luck. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it. If anything wild is happening, let me know. Maybe I can come out and grab a snippet of it or something. All right. I will see you all soon.